Yeah, I typically don't play games myself because I'm so busy. And you know, I have 9 kids, so I feel guilty if I'm sitting around playing games. So when I have any extra time, which is seldom, but I do, I like to spend those doing something with my kids. You know, I don't feel too guilty. But yeah, I don't really like to play games, and that's weird, isn't it? But I like designing. I really like 3D design. And so, as you see in the title here, it's titled Games, so you get an idea of where we're headed for the next lecture. So I decided, as opposed to running back to MIT next lecture, that we'll actually do games. And the next lecture in MIT really gets into polymorphism and to abstract ideas. So you'll really have something to hang your hat on. And I've got some things to show you. Now, one of the important foundations here is going to be learning how to use event handlers. And we talked about event handlers some, okay? And as one of your assignments, I actually want to go through 3 of Bucky's videos and actually work that assignment out yourself, okay? And he's going to go through an entire event listener and show you how it works. And I got a simple example I wrote, and I'm going to show you how that works, okay? Now, what's going to happen here is we're going to start getting more abstract. So as you said, you saw the Java OOP explanation, and this may have been one of the documents you were looking at. And it's got a ton of object-oriented programming concepts, and we're going to start hitting those concepts and getting deeper into Java, okay? It's very important that we understand what's happening. You're starting to hear words like extends and like implements, and these things we need to understand as we're working with these different interfaces, okay? It's going to be the heart, especially when we get into 3D, it's going to be a heart of what we do. Now there's a good news. Adobe is finally coming around with its new 3D package, and it is called Molehill. Yeah, M-O-L-E-H-I-L-L, Molehill. Now, it is basically going to be a graphic card accelerated, so you're going to get all that wonderful, cool 3D that you get with a lot of other packages as well. But the difference is you'll be able to go from that to web experience. So that's what the difference is, and that's why you really want to go with the Adobe product, because you're not stuck with a download and then you have to go to something else to get user input. You're right there on the web using a rich internet application. So I will start introducing you to Molehill here in a few lessons, but for now we're going to stick with Java and roll along with that. I mean, Java is very important, and you'll be building applications in that as well. That's why it's so important to get these 2D interfaces down. Right, absolutely. And we're going to talk about implements today. So I'm going to first start, and then, as I said, you can take a look at this document if you want, and we're going to be getting into this as we move forward with the course. You are at the point now of Java burnout where, oh my God, I've learned so much Java, now what can I do with it? And once again, I said you got to learn a lot of Java to do something with it, but once you learn a lot of Java, it's pretty easy, because there's all these classes that have been pre-written by people that we're going to start taking advantage of. And of course, Swing is one of them. And so we're going to talk about simple button code I wrote to just illustrate the action listener. I'm going to go through the tic-tac-toe and just step you through it one more time, okay? But you got it last time, but I just want to make sure I have it recorded on video. And then we're going to talk about JPanel versus JFrame, and I got a simple example I've already showed you. We'll go over it again. And we're going to get an intro to SWAT. And you're probably, what the heck is SWAT? And SWAT is a sister to Swing, basically. And so there was a Swing series of basically buttons and everything written, and there's also by IBM wrote a SWAT series. It's its version of 2D interfaces. And the great thing about SWAT, if you ever decide to use it, there's tons and tons and tons of information out there and examples on how to use SWAT. I feel like SWAT's just a little bit more complicated to use than Swing, but maybe just because we're so used to using Swing. So it's got its own way of talking about things, but some of the concepts are similar. And SWAT is now maintained by Eclipse, believe it or not. And these aren't coming through, these images, but it should come through when you bring it up on your machine. If not, you can go to the basically the tutorials, all right? And I think if we have time, we're going to show you how to get SWAT implemented on your machine. We'll look at 1 or 2 examples, but that's all, because we're going to immediately go from there to gaming, and here's a set of tutorials on gaming. We'll be pretty much going through every game that these guys show. And the different games that they're going to do, he's going to talk about the basics, and then animation, moving sprites, collision detection, puzzles, snakes, breakout, Tetris, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Minesweepers, and Sokoban. So there you go. That should be quite a lot for you to choke down in 2 weeks, right? So what you can do if you want to start looking at this site right here once you get through all the other stuff, all right? Okay, if you have nothing to do, all right? And then I'm going to Then I'm going to hit this next week, and then after that, no, in 2 weeks, and then we're going to. I'm going for it, man, because I really want you to see those basic interfaces, and then once we go back to MIT, everything should be pretty easy after that. You never thought I'd say, well, going back to MIT is going to be easier. So anyway, so that's where we're going to start. So let's go ahead and go back and start at the beginning here. And that would be, go ahead and watch Bucky's videos. I've found these would be very good. He explains it very well, and it's a different example, and I won't use it because he's already using it. But what I'd like to do is just go back to a very simple example to show you how the action listener works, and that's to go and just create a simple button. Okay? And this underline should not be here. Just when I pasted this in, it actually stuck it in there. Let me get rid of it. Thank you. Let me save this. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, once again, extend JFrame. And when I extend JFrame, I'm going to actually create a JFrame called window, which makes sense. It's just a simple window. And I'm going to also create a button. And in that button, I'm going to put click me. That'll be the title. All right. If I didn't put that click me as a title, then I would have to say what? Button1.setTitle and put click me in it. But since I stuck it in there, it's kind of like doing the super. It knows that that's the first method it's going to run. It's going to put that in as a title. And what I'm going to do now is create a constructor, and that constructor is going to hold basically all the code for this simple J window. For this, yeah. And then I'm going to run that constructor in the final method down here. Well, below that is the final method, where we do our main void mainstream method. So in this method right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constructor called simple button. And here's my window. I've already declared it, right? It's a JFrame. And I'm going to set the size to 300 by 300. Then I'm going to set default close window operation JFrame exit close. Why do I do that? Do you remember? Yeah, just shut the window and stop the code. And then I'm going to set the flow layout. We've already done all that before. And here's just a very, very simple thing. I'm just going to add the button to the window using the .add method. All right. And Adobe many times uses the add child is what they call it, because it's set up, they think of it in terms of XML. So you're adding nodes to a child. But here we're just going to add to the window, which is the same as adding a node to it. And then we're going to, you've seen this before, set the window to visible, to true. Nothing new, but now we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to create a method called myHandler. Now, you see it here and go, well, where did that come from? Well, it's below here, so I'm going to come back and explain that in a moment, okay? This is a method that I'm going to create, which is going to implement the action listener. Okay, so I'm going to create myHandler. I'm going to call it click me, and I'm going to go new myHandler. So I'm just basically creating an instance of myHandler. That's going to be the action handler. And then I'm going to attach that handler to the button. So button.addActionListener, click me. See that? So what's happening here, if whenever I want something to happen, like an action, I've got to add an action listener. And basically what happens is, it's like it's a little listening. There's just a listener out there that's basically listening, and whenever someone clicks on something, it happens. So for that to happen, you've got to create that listener. And in the next piece, I actually do that. So I'm going to create myHandler. And myHandler is just a brand new class, and I'm going to just put it below the, you can see it's in the simple button class, but it's below the constructor method. See that? So, and what I'm going to do is go ahead. My class handler implements action listener. Now, in the action listener, there's only one method, and that one method is called action performed. All right. And what I'm doing by declaring it down here, public void action perform, I'm actually rewriting that one method. So essentially, what implements wants me to do is just take the methods inside of add listener and rewrite them. Cool. And so that attaches to myHandler. And what I can do now is myHandler will actually execute the action perform function, but with a new method or whatever I want to put in it. And in this particular case, it was system.exit0. And we addressed this in the last lecture. And what system.exit0 does is basically just closes a window. Okay? Now once all that is done, I've added the listener to it, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm just going to basically take my simple button class and I'm going to run it. And the one easy way to just do new simple button. And we addressed that last time in the last lecture. So this makes sense? So we're just going to go to Eclipse, and in Eclipse, in your new lesson, lesson 4, and lesson 5, excuse me, you're not going to see a whole lot there. Ta-da! 3. You go, boy, this is going to be a short lesson, right? Well, you know I have a tendency to like to really add to things. You know, I don't want things to be too easy for you, so don't expect it to be that simple. So we're going to click on button, simple button right here. There's the code that we just talked about. And when I run that code, all it's going to do for me is bring me up here on the screen because I didn't center it. I can center if I want, and if I click that, it should disappear. Woohoo! It worked. All right, there you go, J-swing. This is like boiled this down to the most simple example we could use.